But the breaking news we're covering right now is certainly about those Iran negotiations, which are currently underway. At the same time, President Trump has made some pretty bold statements. So has the Ayatollah. Making statements on X, says the U.S. president keeps saying that they have the strongest military force in the world. The strongest military force in the world may at times be struck so hard that it cannot get up again. The Americans constantly say they've sent a warship toward Iran. Of course, a warship is a dangerous piece of military hardware. However, more dangerous than the warship is the weapon that can send that warship to the bottom of the sea. Doesn't really feel like thinly veiled. The dictator, of course, has been leading the charge against the rise up that's happening there, where people are finally feeling like they had enough of being under the rule that they have been under for so many decades. And of course, Iran has had this moment of clarity a few times. And unfortunately, it often seems to fail. It gets to a point where it feels like there's no turning back, and you're going to see a new leadership take action, but then it stumbles. Something happens, and they remain in power. This is once again felt like it was happening, but now President Trump certainly not ruling out a lot of action, potential action.
What are you expecting from these Iran talks in Geneva tomorrow?
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important. We'll see what can happen. It's been typically, Iran's a very tough negotiator. They're good negotiators, or bad negotiators. I would say they're bad negotiators, because we could have had a deal instead of sending the B-2s in to knock out their nuclear potential, and we had to send the B-2s. I hope they're going to be more reasonable. They want to make a deal.
Have you been told that a deal is next to impossible?
No, I think they want to make a deal. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
Of course, saying they want to make a deal, they don't want the consequences of not making a deal. I just want to make sure that you could hear that clearly. What are those consequences? Of course, America gets involved militarily. What do you think about that? What do you think about that for President Trump? He is someone who has been often lauded as someone who could get a deal done. It's been a little bit different, a little harder maybe this term, as of course you still have things like you still have things like Russia and Ukraine looming. But plenty of wars have been settled. Plenty of issues have been settled under President Trump's administration this time around. What do you think about getting involved militarily, though? Some of you have flashbacks to a world in war during the War on Terror, of course, in Iraq, which a lot of you may have concerns with now, looking back on it. Hindsight's obviously 2020. I think there's some people that still see it as something that was overall a positive. But you also had a President Trump who ran really on a no more wars platform, dangling a potential war with a country who's currently in the middle of an uprising. And an uprising, by the way, that you would love to see a regime change there. I think a lot of us grew up in an era where we think of Iran specifically as it is now, but you forget what it was. You forget the technological advances that they had, that the great Persian people that have come to America who have done amazing things. A lot of the big companies that use Uber, so on, a lot of these were created or co-created by incredible Persian immigrants or families who came from Iran, who then, their next generation delivered some life-changing technology and life improvements, really, for the American people. These are smart, amazing people. And they are sick of it, and they're fed up, and they're in the streets. But they're getting killed for it. And in moments where you think that finally they have spoken out so loudly that there's no turning back, the negotiation table seems to reopen with America. And what does that look like? Let's go to Lewis, who is calling on line one. Lewis, go ahead.
Hi, thanks, guys, for having me on. Iran has been a problem, a threat, a deadly element to both the United States and Israel and so many other countries as long as I can remember. Now is the time to end this. And I don't care if my gas is $5 a gallon. I don't care if my retirement portfolio goes down significantly. I think now is the time. I think that if we don't act and act completely and decisively, clean house there, that for the next generations, it will get worse and worse.
Well, Lewis, that's a big, bold statement. I don't think a lot of people would feel necessarily, they may agree with you in principle, but there are not a lot of people who are willing to say, yeah, I know my gas is going to go up. I know that there's going to be issues. Obviously, whatever boots on the ground looks like in 2026, which I still think is very different. But you're talking about, risking lives for it to hopefully empower a next generation, a safer, stronger Iran and a safer, stronger America because of it. And of course, Iran will say, in terms of their nuke facilities, they'll say, we don't do any of that. None of that actually exist, though we know, I'm trying to find the number. I think I just had it just a moment ago. The number is staggering of how much. Iran has denied it's been pursuing a nuke weapon, despite having at one point enriched at 60%, far above the threshold needed for a power plant. Now, that's from the news. That's not our sources. So that tells you what you're actually dealing with here, how you trust them. What does it mean? He said they're good negotiators, then kind of came back and said, well, they're bad negotiators. But I think I know what he means. They're strong negotiators, at least you could say, whether you think that they are being foolish or not. Let's go ahead and take another call. Let's go to George in Florida, line 3, watching on the Salem News Channel. Go ahead, George.
Yes, my comment is that they have to have their teeth pulled. Otherwise, there's not going to be any peace. I remember in '79 when they took over the embassy, and everything these people do, especially I think it's called the Republican Guard and the mullahs, they have to be eliminated. The Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, they're causing all the problems. And just think what this world could be if the Middle East could get it together. And I don't think Trump is too wrong when he talks about a Mediterranean area that would be like the Riviera, because that is possible.
Oh, George, it's a beautiful area of the world if you take away what you're having to deal with from a political and really it's political. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's religious. A lot of this is people who are striving for power, dictatorships. When you're dealing with these kind of regimes, you see suffering. Iran, from what I've seen, like I said, pre-79, these were beautiful places. Israel is beautiful. I'm sure there are areas that can be rebuilt as this amazing area. What does it look like long term? I think it's very difficult. The Middle East has never been easy since the dawn of time. But is it possible, George? I think we can at least strive for it. I think we can at least look to it. There is hope that this leadership will change over, that you would have a change of hands. Now, to me, the longer it goes and the more issues that come up and the more negotiations that happen, the less I think that's likely. And that's unfortunate, but it's also because of the way the American media works. As I've been saying and preaching for the last couple of weeks, as we have seen, the American media has decided for some reason, today may be the one day maybe they changed their mind, but it feels like for the last 4 months, they have championed the idea that the American people can think about one story at a time. They can think about Minnesota. Then they can think about Iran for a minute. Then they can think about Nancy Guthrie. Then they can think about, fill in the blank. One story, wall to wall, 24 hours a day. I simply don't believe that's true for the American people or for the people of the world. And I want to give you the opportunity to hear from other stories and hear other perspectives of what's happening around the world, because these are big global moments. And though they may not be as, you're talking about the President of the United States and the Ayatollah of Iran, the Supreme Leader of Iran, having essentially a online, Twitter war that could lead to real war. But your eyes are supposed to be focused on another topic or only one other topic. And I don't play that game.